your name. We lift 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 your name. Ọlọ́run tó dá àwọn òkè ìgbàanì, ẹ̀yin a fi ọpẹ́ àwa fún. Ọlọ́run wa, Ọlọ́run tó dá àwọn òkè ìgbàanì, ẹ̀yin ni o, ẹ̀yin ni a fi ọpẹ́ àwa fún. Ta ni o, ta ni wo tún gbéga o? Bí kò ṣe bàbá. Bí kò ṣe bàbá lò. Ta ni wọ́n fi ọpẹ́ mi fún? Ta ni wo tún fi gbogbo ọpẹ́ mi fún? Ọlọ́run wa, Ọlọ́run tó dá àwọn òkè ìgbàanì, ẹ̀yin ni mo fi ọpẹ́ mi fún.
We're having a health talk, and it's about drug abuse. In our present day, we are all aware that drug abuse is a very serious problem that has a whole wide range of possibilities, from abuse of medications, analgesics, to the regular alcohol, weed, and there are so many other things that people abuse nowadays. And it does not spare children, even right from young age. We have seen people who in the hospital, they are supposed to go under anesthesia, and you see that regular dose of anesthesia is not working because from home something has been entering into their system. So I want to admonish every one of us to be patient, to listen well, write down your questions if you have any, so that even if you are not involved, you will get to meet someone who is involved and you will be able to help the person. So I pray the Lord will bless us today in Jesus' name. So to do justice to this is our sister and our doctor, Dr. Afolashade. Let me call her the way our Reverend Doctor will call her. Olasimbo Oluwole. She's a consultant cardiologist at the Federal Medical Center in Abeokuta. And I believe that she will do justice to this, and every one of us will be blessed. You are welcome, ma'am.
are the highest culprits. But I said it doesn't spare the elderly too. It's believed that non-medical uses of our regular pharmaceutical drugs are usually abused by the older adults, like Valium, Piriton, Alcohol. Then you see that elderly abuse that much more than abusing psychoactive substances. Psychoactive substances are substances that can affect the psyche and the central nervous system, which is the brain of the patient. That tends to be abused more commonly by adolescents, young adults, and even youth at large. So what is a drug? A drug can actually be defined as any substance, aside from food and water, that we use in prevention, diagnosis, or treatment of a disease. Aside from, these days people talk about water therapy. If you have this one, go and drink water. But water is not classified as drug. And food is also not classified as drug. But any other thing that you use to prevent, to diagnose, to alleviate. I quickly want to clarify before I go deep into the drug, into the discussion for today. There are some drugs that we call street drugs. We call some hard drugs. Some are soft drugs. Some are adulterants, diluents. I also need to tell us in this gathering so that when we hear of all these terminologies from young adults and all the rest, one can actually flow and be in the know of what a lot of people practice out there. So what is a street drug? A street drug is a drug that is taken for non-medicinal reason. Usually a drug that can alter the mind. Those are the street drugs. An example of these ones include alcohol, heroin, crack. Cracks are cocaine, marijuana, ganja, weed, fish. There are a lot of names that they call it in town. So marijuana, these are drugs that are street drugs. They are not used for non-medicinal purpose. The sole purpose is actually for euphoria, elevation of mood. I remember a colleague, a doctor that was going to get married, a shy type. So, the groom and the bride must dance. And it is in front of a large gathering. The friend told me that how will I face the crowd to start dancing? But his other friends, males, there's a lot of peer group influence among males. So they told him that he should not worry, that they will sort it out. So shortly before they called the groom to come and dance, they mixed a lot of things for him. And he drank it. So after drinking it, by the time they called him to come and dance, ordinarily the wife could dance better. But this wedding day, the boy danced with disinhibition. He kept dancing. After the wedding, then he came to confess to me. He told me, he said, I didn't ask him how he managed to survive the dance. He told me that by the time they gave him a glass cup of different mixtures, when he drank it, that the priest, the choir, everybody in the gathering, they were like ants. And he was the giant. So when you see people that are just tiny, it's like they are not existing. And those drugs can actually alter one's mind. So you can imagine that type of person. That is the experimental phase. They may go on to the regular phase. So what is an hard drug? An hard drug is generally considered to even be more dangerous. And this will include heroin, because they are more dangerous in that they can lead to physical addiction, unlike soft drugs. Soft drugs will cause mainly psychological dependence. I will explain what is physical dependence and psychological dependence in the course of today's presentation. The example of soft drug is actually cannabis. That's igbo, marijuana. It's considered a soft drug. But what is the problem with it? It doesn't cause physical dependence, but it can cause psychological dependency. And that psychological is what I told you, that is mind altering. So it can alter the mind. And when the person takes the drugs, they feel much better. Then what are illicit drugs? Illicit actually is same thing as illegal. These are illegal drugs and they can never be prescribed. No doctor is going to prescribe cocaine. Neither will a doctor prescribe heroin for anybody. So these are illicit drugs. It's like they are interwoven. Then what is a designer drugs? A lot of youth and young adults these days use the designer drugs. These are synthetic drugs. They are chemicals and they exhibit similar effects which the original drug can also bring about. Then we can talk of club drugs. Club drugs like Rofinol, ketamine, these are primarily used in clubs, in parties, at bars. Those drugs are also drugs of abuse. Then we talk of recreational drugs. Recreational drugs are actually drugs that have medical purposes, like methamphetamine, which can be used to treat attention deficit disorder in children, which are hyperactive. They can also be used to treat in treatment of obesity. There some people use them because it's capable of giving energy, especially for fun and for leisure. So they use those ones as a form of recreation. There are other ways that people can also abuse drugs. You can look at an athlete or a weightlifter that is using anabolic steroid so that they can have more muscle. But steroids are actually medical drugs that can be prescribed by doctors. But when people use it in a way that it is not meant for, then it becomes a drug of abuse. A lot of us in this auditorium have abused drugs one way or the other. The drug addiction is the problem because a drug abuse that is not checked is ultimately going to lead to addiction. You can imagine what is very common example of abusing medication. I've been given drug to be used morning and night. Then I forget to use it in the morning. Then by night, I take the 2 tablets that I'm supposed to use. Who has done that before? And use them all together. Some people practice that. Or there's an ailment. My friend has stomach pains, and the doctor prescribed diclofenac for the abdominal pain, probably menstrual pain. And then I have abdominal pain. But because my friend, my roommate, used diclofenac the last time, the leftover tablets, my friend gives it to me. I'm sure some people have done it before. Then let me come home to my mom. When I was young, very young, if she takes any one of us to the hospital, probably suffering from fever, cough, and catarrh, and the doctor prescribes drugs, she will get all those ones from the hospital. Then when she gets home, she looks at the label, and she copies it in her diary. So when the next child is sick, fever, cough, and catarrh, she brings out her diary and goes to the chemist and buys it. Who has not done that before? Then antibiotics in Nigeria is a prescription-only medicine. Who is here that has ever bought Septrin without doctor's prescription? A lot of people will go and buy Septrin, buy Ampiclos. Yes, and those drugs are not over-the-counter drugs. They are prescription-only medicine. So when you go to the counter and buy them, then you are, in a way, abusing the drug. And some other patient looks at it that is like, I can't sleep well. Go and buy Valium 5. Because these days, there is strict regulation of Valium, Mogadon, and Lexotan, and the rest. People are resorted to Piriton. So how many people here have bought Piriton before to induce sleep and just relax, just to help oneself? All those are subtle way of abusing medication. But when we abuse painkillers in particular, those are narcotic agents, or sleeping pills, they end up giving a form of dependence. hallucinate. And substance abuse can also lead to death in some patients. So drug dependence, I have told us, I said it can either be physical dependence or psychological dependence. Physical dependence occurs when the body becomes used to that drug, so that if you don't use it, assuming you don't use diazepam, that's Valium 5, then the person cannot sleep. So physically, the sleep will not come. So it is obvious until that drug is used. Some people, if they don't use tramadol, then they are restless. If you have not taken alcohol, there is restlessness. But when the substance is taken, then the person calms down, waiting for another dose. But what's the problem with this dependence? The problem is that it can lead to tolerance, such that the system already tolerates that dose. If the person starts with 5 milligram Valium 5, after a while, the body will be used to Valium 5. It may have to become Valium 10 and Valium 20 before you get the desired sleep. Then what is then psychological dependence? Psychological dependence is that the abuser is taking the drug because he is convinced in his mind that the drug, that he needs the drug. It's not that he's having any symptom, but the person is convinced in his mind that I need this drug and I must use it because it is more of a mental and emotional problem here. So what's the meaning of drug addiction? Addiction is then the habitual, psychological, and physical dependence. They are both of them now occurring together. Both physical and psychological dependence on a substance. And this is actually, I won't say it's Ojulazo, it's beyond voluntary control. The person is no longer in control. The mind is already taking over. So it's Ojulazo. And what can a person be addicted to? One can be addicted to either a illicit drug or an illicit drug. Any of these can constitute a drug of addiction. I've seen doctors, because doctors are more addicted to narcotics, painkiller in particular, opioid, because they have access to it, like morphine. I don't see anybody getting morphine on the open market in this room, unless you go to the corner, the dark streets where they sell it, but it's not readily available. But to a doctor, we know morphine is always available in the hospital, and a doctor can always get it. So things like pentazocine, a doctor can easily get addicted to it. Tramadol, you see all these narcotic drugs, it's easier for doctor. But there are other people too that get addicted to them. It is those ones, opiates, analgesic, are actually illicit drug, which is given to patients when needed. But you see, it can be abused by other people because of the feeling that is derived from it. So what are the types of abused substances? I said earlier, legal substances or illicit substances can be abused. And drugs that are even licensed for over-the-counter, like alcohol. There is no restriction on alcohol in the country. So like alcohol, anybody can enter into the bar or the shop and buy alcohol. So that is free, is available. So these are actually legal in the country, but people can abuse it. Then also, the caffeine can also be abused. Then some people abuse inhalants that are meant for other purposes, like nail polish, glue. They sniff it. Nail polish, gasoline, chemicals, different type of, even glues, super glue. Some people are addicted to it. They just want to sniff it, and they get a lot of euphoria, sense of feeling cool with it, and that I'm the one here. And prescription drugs like Valium are also legal drugs that can be abused. But there are illegal substances, which we will discuss in detail, that can also be abused. So how does drug addiction, how does it begin? The number one way is experimental, experiments, or curiosity. A lot of adolescents, young people, they are just curious. that, what is this person smoking? What is this person doing? Why does this one? We work in the same factory. I remember having a patient that had a surgery at Rufina. And they called me to come and see the patient that the blood pressure was high. And that he continued to be in pain because the dose of analgesic they were giving him was underdose to what the boy has been taking in normal daily real life. Then I asked him, I said, your kidney function test is not too good. And that is the reason why your blood pressure is high. And he said he takes tramadol every day. He works at Cellplast. That tramadol, that if he doesn't take tramadol, how will he push cooler? The 100 milligram of tramadol is to push cooler per day. And that's how he uses it. Because if it does, it gives energy. So if you are now there, another factory worker is there, then one cannot push the small coolers. And they said there are some coolers. The guy told me that if I see the cooler, maybe I'll ask Brozevulom how big those coolers are. That if I see the cooler, there are no ordinary person can push it. But you can imagine another factory worker in that place that is not, we will look at the other people there that, how are you people doing it? We both ate eba before coming, but it's like your own energy is more than mine. So it's curiosity, experiments at the outset. Then friends pressure, you see peer pressure. They lure the person into it. Some people also want to belong. My friend is doing it. He gets away with a lot of things. He's the one, that's the clique that runs things on campus. Or that's the clique that are in charge. And I also like to belong. And you can also be roped into it. Then frustration and depression. Some people are just frustrated, and especially for alcohol. Like the wife is troubling the man or has just lost the job. You look at it that, what's the way forward? Then paronure. So can go and be going. Desire for more work, like I explained. You want to work. A lot of young people, because of a lot of poverty in the country, wants to send the children out, go and work, go and do this. And this is body. This body is actually flesh and blood. And it's going to get tired. May not be able to do or accomplish all the work that is there. And that may get some people into abusing drugs. Then looking for a different world. Some people just believe that that world where my friends or the other people are is just the better world to be in. That this particular world, because indeed they are in another world. And that this particular world is not bubbling, is not interesting, is not high enough. And they want to get there. Then relief from pain. Some people are in so much pain, like C-class, have a lot of pain, so they tend to abuse analgesic. They already know the one that won't work because the pain is actually not friendly, and that can lead to. Then family history. What do you expect? A father that is into drugs, or the other brother is into drugs, and they have a lot of younger ones. Of course, they look at the older ones, or the mother abuses alcohol, or the mother smokes. So family history too can also endanger people. And some people are just adventurous. That kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ in club yẹn. Let me to go. I want to see what is there. Then why do youth use drugs? Youth, why do they use drugs? Number one, for cognitive motivation. Like, I can think better when I am using the drug. That the thoughts and thinking may be clouded. So they think they will think better. And some respond by saying that I think about things on a deeper level when I'm using the drug. That, okay, especially all these our celebs that sing, God, what's the name of this singer that takes, Naira Marley, yes, yes, like that, like so, like that. You say that he takes him into a higher realm, you know, that he can think a lot of deeper things and write music and do a lot, and they believe that without the help of the drugs, they may not be able to achieve. The emotions and stress. Some people say, I enjoy drinking or getting high because it helps me blow off stress. Then some people say that I feel more like drinking or using drugs when I'm upset or angry. Let me just go and cool off. This woman, your own is too much. I'll just go away. Then some use it as social motivation. I am more fun to be around with when I use drugs. Have you been to the bar where men are drinking alcohol? They talk, I've not been there. Oh. But at least I don't drink, so I've not been there. They will see it in the movies. They will talk at length. There's a lot of disinhibition. Ordinarily, things that they will not say. And that's why they say, ọ̀rọ̀ tọ́lọ́tí bá sọ, ó ti wà nínú ẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀. It's because, you know, there is a way we control ourselves that will make us talk. Then some say that I like the feeling of getting away with drug use. And some say it helps them from being bored. So what are the signs and symptoms of a drug abuse? A drug abuser is likely going to be secretive. They will not tell you what they are doing. And if you enter into the room, they quickly pack what they are doing. So those are the ones that will passcode their phone. They are together with their parents in the house. They lock the door of their own room. And if their dad or mom or siblings have to enter, they must knock so that they can tidy up everything. Then they want to be alone. They don't want to be in the group of people. Then when you begin to see such changes, although adolescents and young adults may also want to be on their own, but all this, by the time you are seeing, if it's going beyond normal, then one should begin to look. Change in dress and appearance. You see a very clean young man or young woman before, well-nourished, clean, tidy, and neat. And all of a sudden, you begin to see them being unkempt. I remember seeing this boy that acted Karate Kid, Jaden Smith, in recent times. If you have seen his picture, I'm sure the boy is into drugs. Because when he was young, very handsome, fine boy. But if you see his picture now, you will be sorry. You will know he's into drugs. Although I haven't read it that he's into drugs, but you know, they just change, they become haggard, unkempt, and also when you begin to see such changes, then one should also suspect that this person may be abusing drug. Change in interest and activity, losing or gaining weight, physically hurting people, they tend to be abusive or rebellious. A child that will not rebel, that will say, yes, sir, I will do this. Then suddenly having a lot of effrontery to face authority, to face anybody. Then they are also absent, they may be absent-minded. Then they avoid the issue of drug abuse when you ask about it. If you want to talk about drugs, it's either they turn violent or they avoid it. They don't want to talk about that topic. Then they may possess illegal drugs in their room if you check into their closet. Then they may have needle marks on their hand, especially people that take heroin. Heroin is they give it intravenously into the vein. So you may see a lot of needle marks. Even some other people that abuse analgesic like opiates. Then they also defend other people using drugs. If you are talking with them and they decide to talk at all, and you raise the topic of drugs, they will defend whoever is doing it. Then they may also have repeatedly having bloodshot red eyes. So almost every time the eyes are red. So one should also look out for that. Then they may have suicidal attempts. So what are the factors that can predispose to drug abuse? We'll start from family. Sometimes people go into drug abuse to escape from very strict parents. Then when parents lack communication with their children, or some parents are just overprotective. So when the child gets out, then it's like, I have gained my independence. Neglected children. A child that is well taken care of, that is overprotected, is at risk. The one that is even neglected is also very much at risk, because parents that have no time for their children can also predispose them to abusing drugs, just to seek solace, comfort in their peers. And when children that you see that prefer to be with their peer group because they feel that my family don't want me, so I'd rather go with my peer, that can predispose, because it's the group that they move with that can easily lure them into drug abuse. Then school. How can school do that? When their schools are not giving basic education like we are doing now about illegal drugs, then the pupils or the students may also go into it. Teachers that are also not aware of personal conflict. Also, one problem with parents is that some parents are over-demanding. They tell you, is it not your mate that is coming first? Is it not your mate that is collecting all the prices at the prize giving day? And when I was in secondary school, we once had a girl in GSS 3 that had mental problem from drug. I went to a girls' school where I wouldn't know what she used. But by the time she had the other problem, all what she was saying is that, is it only Shade and all the people that will be collecting the prize and be coming first? This time, I'm the one that will come first. I must confess. So we don't know what she used. She kept reading, and then she ran mental, and the parents had to take her from the school. So sometimes it's because of pressure, and people that don't have energy, like me, if I pick my book to read, I can sleep off. So if people may look at it that the little I have read may just be enough, but because the parents are demanding for more, better output, then they may seek help, which can give them more energy to continue to study. Then teachers too are also not sensitive to need of students sometimes. They don't know a student that has problem, and all they say is, you are serious, this one, and so they are only concerned about their academic achievements, not particular about the personal growth of the students in their class. And how can community predisposed to drug abuse? Drugs are easily available in the community, and because they are all there, and there's also increasing number of drug pushers. Oftentimes you see group of 10 boys, they'll just gather in front of a clothes shop. It's a clothes shop. Oh. What are they doing? Likely drug pushers, and they carry all this. Sorry for those people that carry cross bags, and they carry cross bag or nylon. It's the gold that is in those things. And in the dark, you just see them in the dark. So there are increasing number of drug pushers here and there are also plenty in Shagam. So Shagam is not immune. It's not just Lagos. Girls are abusing drugs. Boys are abusing. Then media. How can media, when there is over-sensitization of news stories on illegal drugs, you know, because these people like to experiment out of curiosity. So they also want to do it, and they may go and check it out. But you see, when they release all these, their movies, TVs, the action film and all of them, and you see what they do there, you know, they do drugs now, most of all these American drugs. And we are also watching. And people also want to, just as a lot of our youths are copying all the celebrities with the gold hair, the dreadlocks, the sagging, all the things that they do. So in the same way, people copy the American traditions. So they want to copy what's in the film. So when there is oversensitization and all they are showing is, this one is into drugs, then you can open the mind of some people that like adventure and say, let me see what they do there. Then we talk about biological factors. Some individuals' health conditions are usually relieved. Like I said, sickness. They are relieved with the use of drugs. So those ones, they may also want to keep using it. Then psychological factors. Drug abuse is common with people with low self-esteem, poor self-esteem, poor self-image. That is what we actually drive a lot of people to it. And some people just feel that I need to belong and I need to be accepted by the big boys, the big girls. I must be accepted. Then some people want freedom and autonomy, that you can't be telling me to do this. After all, I'm of age and I'm in charge. I'm an undergraduate. I'm a married man. I've graduated, so I can do that. Some want to escape from reality. Parental negligence too, like I have explained, when people give harsh punishments to children, and when parents abuse children. And we should know one thing, in the face of children, anything the parents do, either good or bad, is good. We are their role model. So if a parent is doing it, the child from small age sees it as good. So whether it is bad, so we should always aim to do good. Because if we do it, in their own mind, it is good. Whether it is bad or good. So what are the classification of drugs? I said there are sedatives and tranquilizers, like barbiturates. What would this one do? They make the person feel calm, relax, and can sleep. Then the narcotics will suppress brain activity, suppress pain. Stimulants will make the person more wakeful, more alert, and it will cause the person to be excited. There is this excitement. In the face of all the trouble, nothing, no money in the pocket, no job, I failed all my courses or the exam, I have plenty carry over. But the person takes the stimulants and they are high, and they are cool, they are excited. Then hallucinogen, this one alter thought, like I said, and that is the group of ganja, that's marijuana. So marijuana is one example, and I said there is the synthetic. You know, I told you that there can be the synthetic. The synthetic marijuana is commonly called spice or K2. Why the real marijuana, you see people calling it grass, weed, pot, reefer, dope, ganja, eja. So they say a lot of things out there in town. And when they say that, yeah, oh my jeja or something, don't join them to jeja. It is. Then some take what we call shisha. And they tell you that, shisha or hookah, that shisha, there's nothing in shisha. You know this thing. If, it's a flavor, yeah. It's a lie, oh. It's a very big lie. That shisha, you know, they will do it everywhere. Is in the one room, everywhere. They will be smoking from that pipe. In case you've not seen it, in their clubs, in their room, they smoke from pipe. It's like one jar like that. And he has long pipe, and they change it from hand to hand. Some have 2 pipes or many pipes. So that shisha is actually, it contains same carcinogenic. You know, when we say something is carcinogenic, it's cancer-forming agents that is in cigarettes, that is in tobacco, and that is same thing that you find in cigarette smoke is what you have inside shisha. And in fact, they say shisha contains 36 times more tar than cigarettes. And in fact, it contains 15 times more carbon monoxide. And it has higher level of lead, nickel, and arsenic than regular cigarettes. So you can imagine, because it contains nicotine. Nicotine is a drug of addiction. That's what we have in tobacco, CMs, and cigarettes. So shisha also contains that nicotine. So it can also be a drug of addiction. Because there's a lot of carcinogenic agents in it. So person is at increased risk of cancer, heart disease, and even dental disease. You see a lot of them. They have all these brown, rusty teeth. And they can have dental caries and the rest. So that is shisha. Then inhalants. I say some people inhale. They inhale kerosene spray, aerosol spray, solvent, gasoline. That's petrol. The gas that is coming from it. Some people inhale it. Then locker room, bullets, poppers, snappers, laughing gas, whippets. Different type of things that people can inhale. Then we have the stimulants like cocaine, which is commonly called coke, flake, white blow, or nose candy, or crack. People take that. Crack, rock, freebase rock, they take all those. And amphetamine, which is usually called black pepper pills or co-pilots. Those are part of the things that people take. They can take speed. Speed is methamphetamine. It gives energy. People that go, it's a drug that can be prescribed ordinarily in hospital too for long distance driving because it gives energy and speed. So they call it speed, and other people can abuse it. Then we have talked about Valium. Those ones are depressants. Alcohol, they are all depressants. Then hallucinogen, like I said, like angel dust, love boats, LSD, green dragon, red dragon. So they take mask, magic mushroom, different types of drugs that can alter the mind. And we talk of heroin, commonly called smoke, horse, brown sugar, junk, big H, mud. So they call it any of those names on the streets. And they take heroin. And what's the problem of heroin? They can get HIV and hepatitis, even if the drug itself does not kill them. Other medical conditions can kill because they change needle. Like if you withdraw 10 mils of heroin in a needle, then this one can take 2 shots, pass the same needle to the next person, takes another 2, and they share disease. amongst themselves. So what are the effects of drug abuse? The effects, I'll put it out as the effect on individual, the effect on friends and family, the effects on society, the effect on even the economy of the society. So what's the effect on an individual? It is estimated that about 10,000 deaths occur yearly due to drug abuse in the US. Every year, up to 10,000 people will die. And when people abuse drug, they engage in a lot of criminal activity like prostitution, armed robbery, just to raise, even petty stealing, just to raise money to keep buying the drug because there's already addiction and they can't control themselves from using the drugs. So some drugs like alcohol too can be associated with a lot of violent behavior. People start fighting at the park. They have taken 2 pelebes. You know the pelebe, those flat nylon, Chelsea and the dry gin. So they have taken 2 and, okay, I want that. Let's go and fight. We'll go and kill them. So a lot of violent behavior. Then cocaine can cause anxiety, depression, and even further desire in the patient. And like I said, heroin withdrawal can cause convulsion, muscle cramps, and increased forgetfulness. And what's the effect of substance abuse on friends and family? Marital problem, poor work performance, because it has led to a lot of lack of togetherness. Because all the money that the man is supposed to bring home or the woman has been spent on drugs. So there can be a lot of problem in the marriage. Then pregnant woman that uses drugs, they have higher rate of low infant baby. Aside from that, their baby too can have mental retardation, especially people that abuse alcohol while pregnant. Intense feeling of humiliation by family members because they will look at it that àbúrò yín ló mú gbóǹbẹ̀ yẹn, you know. So it's like a shame to also the family member. And all the family members, self-esteem too, is generally low among all the family members when they see their sibling that is into that. And there can be a lot of domestic violence. Probably if they try to correct, did you sell my wristwatch? I'm looking for my wristwatch. And because they will accuse the person that is an abuser. So, did you sell? And that can erupt violence. Then there's also loss of money and valuables, even in the home, because the money will be used to buy drugs. Effect on community and society. They say there will be a lot of crimes in the community. Then increase drug dependence, and there will be increasing number of persons pushing the drugs. And this constitutes threat and nuisance to the community residents. They cannot live in safety. There's a lot of insecurity. They can't work in the dark. They can't work in the night. Because you see, when people use drugs, ordinarily armed robbers, before they go for operation, they must have taken something. People drink a lot of, before anybody will sexually molest or assault another person, must have been high. Because if the conscience is still there, that person will not do. So there is a lot of loss of social values in the country, in the community. And what's the effect to the economy? There can be sabotage to the economy. Assuming the person at the ends of affair is a drug addict, then we know what is going to happen. So draining of huge amount of money from the country, then that will aggravate the already ongoing poverty that is in the country, and the economic growth may also be slow. And there can be a massive corruption if the person too is in at the ends of affair. Or imagine a policeman that is a drug addict. So how will he arrest or arrest drug offenders, or don't know where they meet at night, or in the corners and the undergrounds where they push the drugs? So what are the weapons to combat drug abuse? Responsible parenthood. So I said we are role models and examples. Even if you are not a parent, you should be role model to your siblings and people in the church, people around you. Being a good parent can actually prevent a child from cultivating bad habits. So a parent must know their limitation. We are the one they are looking at. We are their example. In the eye of a child, whatever you do, it is good. So it's only you as an adult that you know that it is not good. But to a child, it's a good thing. And they tend to emulate. So we should also create dog abuse awareness and education to teach young people to develop healthy behavioral pattern. And mass media too can also join in the campaign for drug-free world. So what is the treatment? Treatment programs like social counseling can help individual drug users to live without drug. Because the problem of drug addiction is huge. A lot of them is very difficult to treat. By the time they go for drug rehabilitation, they spend months, they may spend up to a year. When they come back, they can easily relapse, especially with flashback, and they can relapse. And we also know that a lot of medical conditions can kill them: heart attack, cancers, sudden death, stroke, convulsion, a lot of other diseases that they are at risk of, apart from running mental. So it's either they go to mental home and be coming in and out, that's the person that wants to even stop at all, or they are in the mortuary, or they are constituting nuisance on the streets. But I know God can actually deliver. So what is the summary of our today's topic? Is that we should say no to drugs. Drugs kill. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that we all have learned one thing or the other. I don't know if there are questions from people. No question on this side at all. That's going to be very surprising. Okay. 1, 2. Are you raising your hands? 3, 4. Okay, before we take the questions, just in addition, some of the times these people just come in with maybe blurry vision. They will come that they are not seeing well and all that, and then when you now get to you check their vision, you check their eyes, you would have seen florid signs of very high blood pressures. And so when you begin to now clerk and ask questions, that's when you now discover what they have been using. And like we mentioned, it is not limited, even bankers, any kind of people. So we have to be very careful. I pray God will help us in Jesus' name. Okay. Please, let's go straight to the point on our questions and make it brief.
Thank you very much. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much. I am able, doctor. You've gone through the regular drugs. And there is an area I would like you to also discuss. And it is the use of jedi that is carried all over the place. I don't know, from my childhood I've never had agbo. Maybe when Yaburo was backing me, he probably blocked my nose to take agbo. But since I became conscious, I have avoided it. But you see the prevalence in society now is so much that at every mechanic workshop, at garages, at this, and these agbos are not regularized. There's no what do you call it? You don't say this is the quantity you take. That is also constituting, for those of us who go to mechanic workshops and mix, it's also becoming an issue that we in-house need to discuss. Then the other thing, from what you said, a governor is asking government, federal government, to regularize marijuana. What do you think?
We want to get all the questions before we answer, please.
Okay, praise the Lord. Well, I thank God for a lesson like this. But it seems, will I say, or let me say the government, our government, would need to really go further to assist his people. Because I look at it that if taking ordinary beer, I'll call it ordinary because you can find it almost everywhere. If beer taking is dangerous to the life of the people, then why do they allow the brewing? And also, I look at it that medically there are pharmacists everywhere. Even in the market, you find them in the tray, they will put the black and white, the red and this all together. I don't know what we are doing to really cop all this type of life, because the more we see them available, the more we try them. It's still part of this jadi and whatnot. I've never bought any drug being taken in the market and all that, but I see people do buy it. How best can we, I'm now talking back to the doctors, how can we raise all these issues and ensure that, yes, we live a drug-free life, not to really abuse it, because our body actually needs some little adjustment sometimes. You are feeling headache, you want to get well because you are not sleeping well. Yes, but for us to go to the hospital where you will be charged thousands of naira and all that, it seems it's part of what is actually making all this roadside type of hospital. So I don't know what we can do, or what the government or the general doctors can do to actually help to reduce all this type of menace.
Praise God. My question is, what can we do to help those that are addicted to the drugs already? Because I have someone at my place of work. If the man finish working, maybe he's tired. Yeah, we produce beer, trophy. He will tell you, Jen Losari remove 2 bottles. And if he has not taken that 2 bottles, he will not continue the work. Because his brain will be shutting down and will start shaking. So when he goes for that 2 bottles, anything you give him again, he start firing. So what do we do to help those that are addicted to the drugs already? And my second question is, the beer, yeah, in our place of work, they will tell you, they said you don't need to take it too much. So it is more restricted to the fact that when you want to take it, don't take above 2 bottles. So at work, you can't take above 2 bottles. So what is the medical advantage of taking BS? Because most doctors to predict BS for people. So what is the medical advantage of taking BS? So
Hallelujah. Thank you very much, Ma, for the presentation. But my question is totally different from, the topic this evening. My question is, how addictive is sugar? Sugar, because we talk more of things that, is not so good to the country, but sugar, as subtle as it is, I think personally is addictive. So how addictive it is, or is it, and what are the measures to put in place, so that we can, then all this Maggi and all those things. So what are the measures should we put in place to make sure that we do not fall into the, the deep well of the addictiveness of these substances? Thank you.
My own questions is in line with what Baba said. Government wants to regulate marijuana. And I also want to ask, are we not looking at the potentials of exportation in terms of exporting the substance as a nation? Then I know that in Holland, you are free to bring in marijuana. You are free. It's a free thing for you if you want to take it. It's not an offense. So what is the implication on the youth and government saying they want to do regulate it because of exportation processing? Because I know a particular state government was saying that there is a potential for his state in the area of marijuana exporting the product. Then again, in the days that in our present time, if you cannot take the regular jedi and the rest of it, some people say there is what they call organic. What is the implication of taking all these organic products? I wouldn't know whether anybody will go to the hospital and doctor will recommend either amuludun or alabukun. There are so many other of these Chinese drugs and all of these Western or organic products. What is the implication of those drugs?
Thank you. Please, I want to also say something about this jedi or whatever. I discovered that if I stand for some time, unlike before, I feel this back pain, as if my back wants to break. So there was a day like this, we were on special patrol. So I told the person that led us that, okay, I want to go and sit down. I can't stand again, my back is paining me. It's just like people are waiting for me to say it. So many of us are saying, in fact, it's just like the same complaint here. So I want to ask, is it really jedi? Because that's what led people to this jedi whatever. And I know that one of us said something. He said there is one woman that treated her with all these herbs, all these jedi herbs that treated her, and since then she is perfect. Is no more feeling back pain and all those things. And right there, many people were collecting the number of the woman. So, I know it is very common, and it is what we are passing through. So is it jedi, and what can be the solution so that it will not lead to drug abuse?
Any more question? Last question. Any other before we make it the last?
My question is not...
Final question.
My question is a little bit different. There are these drugs people sell, like GNLD and the likes. They call it supplements.
But you see, people are taking it. My question is, they ask me, if I say I don't want to buy, they will say, Sunday, kini kan, oh, jìnnà sí doctor, ikọ́ tẹ̀ bú mi, kini kan tó bá ṣe, they will say all sorts of things. But my fear is that they are not medical doctors. I had to question a lady. To then she training, in fact, in my place of work, even our peers today, we even sit down. I'm not talking of low officers like me. You will see the peers, even the directors, they will call these people for our professionals meeting. Oh yeah, they want to give us health talk. I had to ask one of them, and somebody felt I was kilo shegon. That I'm sorry, are you a medical doctor? Onirara. Okay. You are a health personnel. No. Kilo study boya economics abi kini kan. O she training 1 month. And you are telling me, you are giving me health training. So I don't know about all those drugs. What is their, how safe are they? All the GNLD and the likes. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you for listening attentively, because if you have not listened, then I won't be able to have all these questions. So I really appreciate you for asking all the questions. So it showed that you actually followed. But let me start. The first question was Jedi. So I'm going to lump it with the number 9 question. Well, I remember when I was year 1 clinical student. Then my senior registrar then told me that when he just graduated as a doctor, an herbalist in his hometown called him and said, "My son, I learned that you are now a doctor. Congratulations. Let me tell you one thing. If you already know Jedi, you know everything that a doctor should know. Because me, as a younger child, if they say somebody has Jedi, that means the person has diarrhea. Is that it? Oh, yeah. Yes. They call it file. Yes. If your person is passing blood in stool, it's fine, it's Jedi. If you have back pain, it's Jedi. If you are constipated, it's Jedi. So, if you already know, so if some people who have abdominal pains, they tell you it's Jedi. You can't pass stool, it's Jedi. You pass too much stool, it's Jedi. You have back pain, it's Jedi. Then tell me what else is in medicine. So when you first of all learn Jedi, you're on your way to treating like 70% of the diseases that exist. And that is where Jedi, because in the pathophysiology, in the mechanism of disease, something cannot be causing you not to be able to pass through. And it's that disease that will be making you pass too much through. That means it should be the opposite that should cause that. But this Jedi is absorbed because it can pro and it can be against. So there is nothing like Jedi in medicine. So if somebody has low back pain, if you do a lot of standing work or you sit for too long, depending on how comfortable your chair is, imagine you use this type of chair in your office. Very soon, the person is going to get a back pain. And it is not Jedi. It is lumbosacral spondylosis, which it is degenerative changes of the spine, of the vertebra, the bone of the back is already under stress. And the edges of the bones are rubbing against themselves. And that is able to cause, this spine. If you have pain in your hand, it's different. If you have pain in the tummy, it's a different one. But if there is pain along the spine, don't forget the spinal cord is passing through that place. So some nerves are affected. So when there's that low back pain, it goes into the legs, to the back of the thigh, because the nerves are also affected. And that can present as back pain. Of course, I'm not saying that somebody cannot, so if somebody has hemorrhoid is fine. It can bleed, Hemorrhoid has different stages. Some are bleeding hemorrhoid, some don't bleed. It comes out, then it goes back in. So that's hemorrhoid. It's a different thing. It's completely different because that one is a problem with blood vessels around, just above the anus in the rectum. That's where that one is coming from, which is part of the large intestine. So if you come to the hospital and they say it's jedi, I tell you, tell me another one. Tell me what is wrong with you so that you can be treated. But a lot of people these days have that low back pain, which is not jedi. There is a problem of muscle spasm. The muscle of the back is going into spasm because of the work, or the bones at the back, the low back bones, are undergoing what we call degenerative changes. And the disease process is lumbosacral spondylosis. So, and that can be the cause. But now come to the treatment. The drug works. You see, there are a lot of cheats. These people that sell herbal mixtures, there are plenty cheats. Some of them, when they cook, when they mix the mixture, they put a lot of narcotics that we have discussed inside. They put tramadol, they put they put aspirin, they put tramadol inside the leaves, and they now pack it. I was at the mechanic place yesterday too, and somebody came with color orange, color green, color yellow, and all of them, just as you said it, said, give me Iba àti typhoid, Iba àti typhoid, ọ̀pẹ̀yìn. And that was how they were all collecting the thing, and they started drinking. In fact, one guy collected the color almost yellow, and also collected another one that is almost black, like a black currant. And the upholstery, the one that was doing upholstery of it, was telling him that, are you going to drink the two together? That I should not drink it, or that even this old cup, that I should drink it for 3 days. And the man said, there is sold in nylon, where is he going to keep it? That is going to drink everything. It's as prescribed. So, but there are a lot of cheats among them. They tell you that I have drugs for diabetes, but they are poured glucophage, excess dose than what doctor would recommend in hospital, into those agbo. And they prepare most of them with alcohol. So they had a lot of all these illicit drugs to eat. I'm not saying there are no herbal medications too. There may be. Probably those leaves and herbs that have analgesic property. But these days, there are a lot of cheats when it comes to the herbal mixtures. And they put a lot of narcotics. They have access to them. So there's no how. You see, when you drink the thing, somebody has cook weed. Weed, that's Igbo. Cook weed, put tramadol. What type of pain is it that will not go? It will go. In the next 1 week, you will not have anything. So they will tell you that, oh, shishe, because me as a doctor, I'm careful. I don't want to give you too much analgesic because all drugs have side effects. As little as paracetamol, it has side effects. So it must be used according to dose. So that's the case of all these jedi. But bear in mind that jedi is all diseases. Some people have chest pain, they tell you it's jedi. They have abdominal pains, menstrual pain is jedi. Ulcer is jedi. So when is jedi? So you present your symptoms, but to us doctors, we treat as per disease. We don't lump everything all together. I think I've answered the previous, quite prevalent, and I said there are a lot of cheats. And the problem one is facing is that in nearest future, the case of kidney failure is going to increase. And no wonder now they are already stealing organs of people in Malaysia and all those places. Because kidney failure is the end point. If the person does not even die from heart attack. I remember having one patient that did tests in Osut, and we said the heart is deviated to the left. Ordinarily, and the woman asked for treatment. I said no treatment, that this does not give symptoms and it's not going to kill you. But she collected our antihypertensive drugs. When she got home, she brought herbal mixture, drank it, put antihypertensive, drank it. Of course, she died. Then the following day, we heard that she died. So it was the son that later came to tell us that the mom drank agbo and hospital drug together. And the two of them worked so much, and the woman passed on. So different, it can cause death even immediately because some of them have capability of dropping the blood pressure so low that the person can die from too low blood pressure or too high blood pressure, or if they don't die immediately, there is the risk of kidney failure because those substances, the drugs, have not passed through any quality control. They've not been standardized. You don't know what dose is appropriate. And when you are taking overdosage or underdosage, you never can really tell. Unlike medicinal, unlike our own medical drugs that would have gone through the NAFDAC or FDA and all the drug regulatory council, they would have looked at the measures, do a lot of trials, first stage trials, second stage, third stage, and even after the drug is in circulation, they still keep looking out for potential side effects. Medical drugs have been withdrawn after it has been approved in time past. But how many of jedi has been withdrawn? Nobody is checking it, so we have to be very careful. Then, what I also want to talk about, I'm linking that to the GNLD. You see, there are a lot of medical illiterates. There are a lot of people that are ignorant, even if they are professors. If I tell you what I hear from teachers, professors that are not medical people, you will be amazed at their level of knowledge. So how can somebody in IPOST invite a GNLD product seller to come and be giving health education? You to look at it. With the abundance of material, as in human resources, if nurses, doctors, pharmacists that are available in this country, and you'll be calling those ones, because, you know, doctors are not allowed to make advertisements. You can't see on radio now, the only drugs that you hear advert of, they are the over-the-counter drugs. So doctor will not come online and say that if you have pain, I'm telling you, for this pain, if you use tramadol, 50 milligram once a day, together with Fortwin, you will be fine. If you don't see improvement in 2 days, see your doctor. You can't hear that type of advert because they are prescription medicine. Nobody is going to make advert on Valium. Nobody is going to make advert on Mogadon. But we can make advert on paracetamol. You can make adverts because those ones are over-the-counter drug. So they can, even doctors are also not allowed, it's prohibited to come and say, okay, as for me, if you have this condition, I'm a cardiologist, you can visit me at number so. This and this and these are what I do. I will treat your heart condition, treat your kidney, you are not allowed to do that. But the Okoloyun and all of them, and Iyeolomi, T-Meg Medicals, there are plenty of, all of them, they can come on radio and start making adverts. GNLD can go, they can go and start making adverts. And those ones are the ones that are doing a lot of awareness. And even when people have education, they still don't know. So they tend to be gullible and follow in that process. Well, most of all those things are actually supplements. They are supplements, some contain calcium, essential amino acids, basically. They are all supplements. So a lot of people use those things at the expense of their prescribed orthodox medications. So when they come to, and those drugs are very expensive. You hear rain, you know rain so. You hear so. Once you open it, it's 1.5. Just drink it. It's 1 per day. So, and you must keep drinking it. 1.5 per day. How many hospital drugs are like up to 1.5 per day? And they are supplements. When patients buy them, because they sweet talk them, no doctor is going to tell you all the talk. When a doctor is going to see hundreds of patients outside, the doctor gives you your prescription. Do yourself good. Use it. If you want to do otherwise, you're on your own. And the GNLD and all those supplement people, they convince you, they tell you a lot of stories. And you see, just as faith that comes by hearing and hearing, but because the doctor is not talking. So you begin to get faith in them that this person is telling me, and this one has used it, this one has used it, this one has used it. Then you want to also follow. But I guess the doctors, the pharmacists, the health workers, nurses, we are actually not doing enough of awareness, even to the grassroots. But the learned that we think that should help the grassroots people, are also ignorant, and that's where the problem is. Legalizing marijuana, I will answer that alongside. Because doctors, marijuana is a drug of addiction. So we have agreed. But we also said there are some medical drugs that we prescribe in hospital, like opiate analgesic, fentanyl, tramadol, Valium, Lexotan, Piriton, all of them, we prescribe them. And they are also drug of addiction. So why can't marijuana be also legalized? Those are the people pushing forward for the debate. It is an illegal drug in Nigeria. In US, it is legal in some states. I think Connecticut, Colorado, marijuana is legal there, but not all the states of US. Why are they pushing for it? Because they believe that marijuana has some medical uses, like it's able to alleviate nausea and vomiting, especially patients that have cancers. When they give them chemotherapy, those are the anti-cancer drugs. Most anti-cancer drugs are able to induce a lot of feeling like vomiting and vomiting that other regular drugs may not quickly act on. And in that case, marijuana has been researched to be able to help in that wise. Also, it can relieve some forms of pains, especially pains that arise from the nerves, because it works on the brain. Marijuana can also help to improve appetite, especially in patients with HIV, people that are chronically ill, that have illness of long standing, and they have persistent loss of appetite. It's been found out that marijuana may also help them. Then, some people have very bad muscle spasm, especially people with multiple sclerosis. This is a type of disease. Don't mind all the diseases. But what it comes with, patients have muscle spasm that their muscles are so stiff to walk, to do a lot of things are pretty difficult. So they believe that during research, although there are other drugs that relax the muscle, so at research, they found out that marijuana may also help to give a muscle relaxant effect. So they are pushing forward towards it. But we have read and I have discussed a lot of side effects, a lot of things that can arise from using marijuana. So that is why it still remains a legal drug. Because even if the pharmacists are going to constitute it into tablets, that means it must be grown by some people. And when you grow it by some people can still cut the leaves and use it to cook vegetable and eat. And so how do you actually control that? But in Nigeria, it is an illegal drug. So beer. If beer is a drug of abuse, why have we left it on the counter? In the US, if you host a party and you give alcohol to a minor, if no trouble arises, no violence at your party, then you may not go to jail because government will not know. But if there is violence and they find out that people that are under the age of 18 you are the one that have invited them to the party and you have served that alcohol, there is a punishable offense. There are laws if you serve. So that's a means of controlling it. But in Nigeria here, when we can't even control prescription medication, we are now talking of the one that is not even prescription. So it's a little pretty difficult here. And no doctor will prescribe alcohol for anybody. I say that. No doctor will prescribe alcohol for anybody. Although it is believed that a little alcohol may be good for the heart. But how little is little? In fact, I wanted to bring a picture, but I deleted it. My doctor said I should take only a glass of alcohol. And the person brought a big jar, a big jar, very big jar, and alcohol that emptied an entire bottle of gin into the jar. And it was not even filled up. And he said, can't you see? My doctor said, only a drink per day. No more than this. But how little is little? How little is your little? because it's a potential drug of addiction. So no doctor will prescribe, but we know that a little alcohol, just as all the other drugs, may be heart friendly. But if you don't drink alcohol, you are not never advised to go and drink, because it's going to protect your heart. Your heart is just as good as you are not taking it. But when people that drink in excess, they are already addicted. It has you, and or people have medical problems. Alcohol is capable of causing liver problem, and liver is just one liver. Once there is liver failure, the person is on the way out. It can cause heart failure, and their heart failure is very, very difficult to manage because the blood pressure will be very low. And all the drugs that we use to treat heart failure, they all lower BP. So we can't give them drugs. And once the heart failure is very bad, the person is also on the way out. Alcohol can cause stroke. It's been found out that it can cause stroke. And the pattern of alcohol and stroke it varies. There are like different types of stroke. Some, if you take a little, it can predispose to a particular type. If you take too much, it predisposes to a particular type. And if you take like a J in a moderate, it predisposes to a particular type. When we say something is a risk is not a cause. Like if mosquito bites a person can get malaria. But it's not like that when we say it's a risk. The person may take it and not have the disease. But you never can tell who is going to come down with that disease. Alcohol can cause yes, pie. It can cause vomiting, and the person will be vomiting blood. It can cause blood vessels of the stomach or the small intestine to burst, and the person will start vomiting blood. Then it can also cause convulsion, memory loss, and even psychiatric problem, drug addiction, in which the person may need rehabilitation. So, no doctor prescribe alcohol for anybody. But some people cannot but drink it. So in that case, we then prescribe. There are not more than 2 drinks per day for a man, and not more than 1 drink per day for a woman. But what is in the 1 drink? It now depends on the percentage of the alcohol. What is in beer is around 5 to 6%. So you can't compare that with all the Andre. Andre should be like maybe 12%. Then there are some that are like 45%. I don't take alcohol, but there are different percentages. There's 42%, meaning that if you take 100 mils of that alcohol, you have taken 42 grams of alcohol. And the meaning is that the person has taken 7 bottles of beer in that single 100 mils of alcohol by drinking those ones that are up to 42%. You get it? So it depends on the concentration. So when we talk of it's a very elaborate something. So there are different cup sizes that they use to measure the drink. Some very tiny, like all those ones, that those old men, those shots. There are different sizes for beer and all the rest. But no doctor prescribes alcohol for anybody. So, drug-free life. How can we ensure drug-free life? Well, this will have to be a lot of collaboration. If governments can make health care accessible to all, you can imagine, okay, somebody wants to treat malaria. You have gone to, a place like Babcock. Okay, let me make, for instance, when I was working in my hospital at Lekki, the card is 3,500 naira. It's just malaria. Card is 3,500. Consultation is 5,000 naira to see the general practitioner. And the drug for malaria is 1,500. That's if the doctor does not request for malaria parasite test. So, if doctor does not request, you will spend 10,000 naira to treat malaria. Simple, uncomplicated malaria. So, why won't people go and abuse drugs? But if government can do like the NHS, where treatment is made available and affordable for all, then that will help. NDLEA too should check the movement of drugs illicit drugs, illegal drugs, the movement within the country, then a lot of awareness from health workers for people, then family and community should also help people that we suspect or may actually be abusing drugs, and that can help us to have a drug-free life and a drug-free world. What help do we have for drug addicts? Very difficult to manage. One should not get there, because I already said there's a lot of relapse. But the help, because even when they stop the drugs, they still battle. I have a couple of patients that have taken tramadol, and in fact, the boy told me that he took tramadol last year, but we still come to hospital almost every 2 days. In fact, when he's around sometimes, and they tell me that the boy is there, we'll close the case note and throw it on that, then he will force his way in. And when he comes, I say, go and see psychiatrist in hospital. I'm not a psychiatrist. Because the symptoms will not go. The symptoms, they are all, if he's sleeping. And who has never had palpitation here? Who has never had a skip heart here? The skip heartbeat can occur in anybody once in a while. The heart will reset. But if he's sleeping and the heart skips once, then the following morning must be in the hospital, because he believes that it's still the drug of last year. So they have a lot of panic and anxiety disorder that trail them. And if they now mistakenly find themselves in the midst of those people and they take that drug again, they will see that all those symptoms will disappear and they are easily lured back into it. So I said it's very difficult to treat. They will need psychiatrist assessment, and not just psychiatrist assessment, drug rehabilitation experts. There are some psychiatrists like that. It may take a lot of time in hospital. It's in stages.